Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar about, I was going to say about pipe networks, but it's about pipe design without pipe networks is our plan for today. So welcome. With me today, I have my colleague Eric, who's going to talk a little bit about a couple of different functionalities, and then I'm going to talk about some functionalities. So the agenda for today is that we're going to talk about, as I said, how to design pipe networks or pipe design without using pipe networks. And we're going to talk about 3 different types of pipe design. We're going to talk about how to use it for existing layouts, and then how to use it for new layouts. And then we're going to do a little bit about trenches at the end. And you'll notice that we're going to switch quite a bit. So Eric's going to start to talk about one type of functionality, then I'm going to take over, talk about another type of functionality. And then at the end, we're going to go through a little bit about benefits and downsides of the different versions, because it's going to be quite a lot of, not repetition, because it's going to be different functionalities, but it's going to be sort of overlapping functionalities. So this is all about giving you options on how to do it. But I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to mention something about the licenses, because you're going to see us using quite a bit of different types of functionalities that might not be normally associated with pipe design. So for our Naviate functionalities, we have different types of licenses. We have a Naviate infrastructure license. The infrastructure license covers all pipe, landscape, and road functionalities. And then you can have individual licenses, one for Naviate pipe, one for Naviate landscape, one for Naviate road. Naviate traffic is its own license always. That's not going to affect today. But when you see us using functionalities on other ribbons than the pipe, most usually it's using another license. So just be aware, if you have a single Naviate pipe license, there might be functionalities today that is not available to you. Just so you know. If you have an infrastructure license, you will use everything that we're showing you today. But just so you know, so we're sort of giving you a sneak peek on different things that you might be able to use, depending on what you're going to do. So just be aware. And if you have any questions about what they're using and what we're doing, we can take that at the end. Good. So let's start. Take it away, Eric.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. My name is Eric Erlandsson, and I'm a consultant at Symetri, and I am a road designer from the beginning here. So today I'm going to go through a couple of tools. Most of the tools I will use is in the Naviate landscape ribbon. So the first thing I'm going to do is to convert this big area of pipe information to 3D solids. This is a typical 2D basis file that you might get for an area in a project. So we're gonna try to make this 2D into 3D. The first thing I would like to do is to turn off the manholes for this area, since they are also line objects. And we do that by going to the layer properties and turning them off. The reason I do this is because line set will go on the polylines, feature lines, and lines, and I do not want to make pipes out of those. I would also like to turn off my surface so I can focus on the area here, and I will do that by going to Objects on Off. You will find that tool in every Naviate ribbon. It's over to the left. So let's go to Objects on Off and turn off the surface. This file is open in a template. This template contains some blocks that we will use and also some pre-made layers. So let's go to Naviate Landscape and do our first line set. So I click line set and create, and I will start somewhere on the edge, because I will do my first line set and then I will copy them. So I'll start up here. I select my line, I press enter for the entire length, and this one will open. I will use this grading template. It's in Swedish, but for you English speakers, it's basically a single pipe with 50 millimeter diameter, and it's the lower edge of the pipe, and it's in green. For those of you that have used our line set, it's basically adding components, so it will do things in steps. So all of these templates I will go through, they will put the 2D line as a draped line on the surface, and then it will create a line from the draped line as the line where we will create our solids from and put them at the relative elevation. So with the coverage we want. So let's go ahead and press OK. And if I click here now, you can see I have my 3D polyline. I will go to copy line set, select my 3D polyline, and then I'll click multiple and select all of these lines and press enter. As you can see, the program works through this area and creates the lines I want. If we flip this up like this, you can see we now have the lines that we want to create the pipes from. So if we go back to the top view, we will go to extrude. Extrude you can do like singular, but I will do it by a script. So this is a pre-made script. I will take extrude by script and find my Naviate extrude script and click open. I will select this whole area and click enter. As you can see, it works through all of these pipes again and create the 3D solids that I want. Let's mark all of this and look at it in the object viewer. So here we have our 2D basis file, and we also have our pipes. So this is a quick way to do a big bulk of 2D polylines and make it into something we can use in a coordination model, for example. The thing is, I would also like to add some property set on this. The reason I would like to do that is because I want it to be searchable and I want to be able to get some quantities out of this. So if we go to this in Naviate Landscape called plant data, I'll get this one here. And I have a CSV file already loaded containing the different property information I can add, and also the property set that will be added. So for these ones, they were singular 50 millimeter green lines. I'll go and click on this one and click add. Now I want to add this only to the solids and not to the 2D polylines. So I click select similar and click on my 3D solid, and it will add it to all of the 3D solids. If we look at properties and extended data, you can see we have the property set here. And from here, I can go to the Naviate ribbon, open our property palette, select the property set that I added, pick the code. In this case, it's the 50 millimeter green one. And then I search and click sum. So here I have some quantities from the 3D solids that I created. And it's a quick way to get some good information that we can put into, for example, a coordination model. So that was my first step, Caroline.
Good. Then I will take over. I will share my screen. Remember that you need to unshare your screen as well, just so we know what we're doing. So for my first part, I have the same file here. You had a black background, Eric. I'm not sure if you could see, actually. I had very trouble seeing what I was looking at, but this is the same file that Eric had, where we have different polylines. As someone in the questions bar, questions pane noticed, Eric's running 2025. I'm actually running 2026, but it's the same version of Naviate. So there's no difference really in how Naviate works. We have a Naviate 26.2 That 26.2 works on Civil 3D 25 and 26. So it's the same Naviate functionalities, even though we're two different Civil 3D versions. And right now we're looking at getting Civil 3D 27 and doing our Naviate 27, but that will be during June is the plan, if you're wondering about that. So I'm going to do pretty much the same thing that Eric did, but I'm going to do it actually as networks. So we have functionality here called network from multiple polylines. And I can use this to convert all of these to pipe networks. So I know that we said that we're going to do pipe networks without pipe networks, but in reality, I'm actually going to do pipe networks because I wanted to show you how to handle this inside the dialog. So I can do all these multiple pipe polylines as pipe network. And I'm actually going to start this function first because this one is going to take a little bit. So I'm just going to take an image of this one and we're just going to let it work in the background. So I'm going to say OK there. And then I'm going to grab my image. And I can explain what this dialog is doing while it's actually working. So I've tried this with quite a large number of polylines. So it usually works. I haven't gotten it to crash, but you need to sort of give it time to work. So interesting things inside this dialog. You have structure to create and intermediate structure to create. And in this case, when you get a polyline like this, or polylines, structure to create will be the first and last. So if you get all lines, then it's basically only going to use structure to create. But if you get polylines where you have nodes in between, then it's going to use intermediate structure to create down here. We have a reference surface, and that reference surface means that these pipes are going to be placed underneath that surface. So you'll notice that I have it off in my drawing. So the pipes are going to get an elevation, but they're actually not going to get a proper elevation. So we're going to fix that in the end. If I had lines with elevation information on them, I could use vertex elevation. So if I got 3D polylines, for instance, then I could do it like that. And I can just say use vertex elevation, and then I get information I get these pipes on that information. So there's a lot of different options inside here that you can use. And now I've talked enough, so now my file is done. So now I have pipe networks for this. Everything become pipe networks, and then I also have breakpoints in between here that I want to do. So, but right now, as I said, they are connected to the surface. So if I bring up my properties here, I can see they have a reference surface, they actually have an elevation, but it's going to have a slope. And it's using default rules. And default rules means it's going to start with the default cover, and then it's going to use minimum slope. And it can't really do anything else. So for my case, when this is fiber, I actually want to place this in relation to my surface. So I'm going to use the command called set pipe cover. Going to select one pipe. Then I'm going to do the entire network. And I'm going to say these should be 0.6. And it's going to set everything at 0.6 underneath the surface, or rather at the start and end. Please remember this when you use this functionality. It's start and end, so the min and max might be different. But start and end cover will be 0.6. And then everything is connected to the surface. I'm just going to hit escape because the functionality works, and then it asks if you're happy with the result. So, and now my pipes, if I then go into pipe properties, we can see that they actually have a start and end cover 0.6. But as I said, the minimum cover might be something else because that's somewhere in the middle of the pipe. The final thing, if you're going to use pipe networks, there are benefits of this. Like we said, we're going to come back to benefits and downsides of this. If you want to use pipe networks, then I would recommend to have this as a data shortcut. So I'm actually going to connect to a data shortcut project. We have a project functionality up here, which on a Naviate pipe, it's part of every Naviate license, where I can actually see the projects that I've been connected to in the latest. So existing is the one that I've created for this webinar. Just going to hit OK, and then it sets up my data shortcuts down here, or it connects to the data shortcut down here. And then I can create a data shortcut from this pipe networks. So if you want to use pipe networks, I would recommend to create a data shortcut for it. I've already prepared this, that's why I'm not doing it. I have my prepared fiber down here. Um, so that was the first part that I wanted to show you. So we're going to continue to our new design. So Eric, do you want to continue with the new design for line set?
Yes, I'm gonna share my screen again. This is the hardest part with this webinar, switching back and forth. Share
Yeah, it
my
takes a little
screen.
bit to sort of make sure that you get through it, but
Misclicking leave call instead.
that's not a good idea. Don't leave me here.
No. Okay. I'm gonna stick with a dark background.
Yeah.
If it's hard to see, I'll change it in the potential recording here. Um, okay, I have a couple of new pipes here that I want to, or new 2D basis for new pipes that I want to create 3D models from. So we're gonna repeat the thing we did for the bigger area, but we're gonna do it in 3 steps. So we're gonna do it for the single pipes, and then we're gonna do something special with this big one. So let's go over to landscape and do line set. So I'll start with my single pipe orange. I would go to the single pipe orange and I click OK. Then we do copy line set. We copy it, we click multiple, and then we select the other ones. So this is basically the main workflow here. We'll do it for the green one. Select it, enter for entire length. Change it to the single green one. OK. Copy line set. Select the line set line. Do multiple. And we click enter. And then we do the last one, the yellow one. So I click the yellow one, change it to the yellow template. These are all built in the same way. So it first drapes a line and then it puts the line for the pipe at the elevation that I have specified. So let's go enter there and then we copy the line set one last time. Multiple, and we do this. So now I've done my single pipes. I have a bigger line here. This line is supposed to represent a bigger, here's supposed to be bigger pipes here. And in this case, I would like to have 6 110 pipes in 2 layers. So I go to create, I click the line, enter for the entire length, and I select the template that I've already made. So we have 6 pipes and they are in layer 1 and layer 2. So I go OK. And if we turn it up, we can see we have all the lines for the pipes ready. Let's go back to the top view and turn these into 3D models. So we do extrude by script again. Find my script, click OK, and basically select everything because this is pre-made. The script is pre-made to go on all of these layers from the template. So it will create the solids for all of these. Here I also have 3 squares. These are supposed to represent the manholes needed, and I want to add some solids here so the model is complete. I do that by going to block library, go to my pre-made folder, select the rectangular one, and project it to the surface. So I'll put these in on every place. Press enter, and then I want to explode my blocks here. Let's look at this from the side. So here we have it. We have our pipes and we have our manholes. as you can see, let's go into Object Viewer instead. Uh, as you can see, all of these are on the same elevation compared to the surface, so they are actually intersecting with each other. Uh, the good thing with line set is that it, first of all, is dynamic, but we can also go in and edit these. So I would like to edit my green one and put it below this package of 6 pipes. So let's do that. I will go back to my top view for this. And I do edit line set, click here and select my specific line set. And I go into the pipeline, and instead of 60 centimeters below surface, I'll put it 25 centimeters more, so 85. We go OK. I want to do one more edit. As I said, the edit or the line set, they are dynamic, meaning if I start to change my 2D basis file, this will update continuously. So if I take my orange 2D line here and drag it, you can see the line set is already preparing to update. So if I do it like this, the new pipeline is updated. Some of you might have noticed that the 3D solids are not updated. There are two ways to go about this. We have our Naviate Explorer. Last webinar, if some of you were there, I explained it as our version of the prospector, and that's still my go-to explanation of Naviate Explorer, because basically I have it already open here, but if you want to find it, it's above Objects on Off in each of the Naviate ribbons. Object Explorer it's a familiar way. You will recognize the look of it compared to the prospector. Here you can delete, you can edit, what more? Yeah, and you can update. So if I click here, it will add the line sets and the extrudes that I've made. And we have one way to do this. We have update all. I will not do this now because I've made a lot of extrude solids. So if I click update all, it will go through all of them. So it will take some time, like 30 seconds or something. So instead, I will do it one by one. And for that, we have update solid. So I basically click on this solid and this solid. So if I look in the object viewer once again, you will now see the green line is going just below my package of 6 cables here. So you can do a lot of edits after you've done the big work here. So you can do every template for every cable, and then you can go in and modify it. Let me see if I have talked about everything I planned here. Yeah, I think so. So that was the new cables.
Good. Very nice. I will continue and show you a different version of how to do, not as 3D actually. So now I have my new file here where I actually brought in my data shortcuts. So these pipes here are my data shortcuts, my existing pipe network. I'm actually going to start by, just as Eric did before, turning off my surface in the background. So our objects on off, it's something that we're working on, adding more stuff. You'll notice that I have assemblies and sample lines here. That's something that's coming in the next Naviate version, where I can turn this off, but I'm just going to use it for turning off my surface. And now my surface is off. As Eric said, he talked about the Naviate Explorer. Know that Naviate Explorer, objects on off that you have over here, and also the property palette. Come on. Now, of course, my civil is frozen. The property palette, which I'm going to show you in just a little bit when Civil 3D comes back online for me. They actually live in the same palette. So when you start opening these things, you'll notice that you sort of don't get one individual palette for them all. You're going to get one continuous, and then you're going to get tabs on the side here. So it makes it easier to sort of compact. So we try to do it like that, where our palettes. There we go. Now I can find the Naviate property palette, where the palettes are actually sort of combined into one. So you can have them all open at the same time if you want to. So just a side note here. What I'm going to show you is actually not Naviate related. It is template related though. So I have an idea, I've had this for a long time, where we can use alignment to create pipe networks. So I'm going to show you how this one works. I think I've shown you this before, but I think it's interesting because I think usually you don't really need, like, when do you need 3D? Do you need 3D at the start, or do you need it afterwards? So this is a way of doing it everything 2D, but still doing something that you will be able to use further on. So if I do an alignment here, I can name it Storm. As you can see that I have actually sort of worked a lot with alignment style. I have a label style and I have stuff like that. So I can do an alignment for this. I get a toolbar. If I want to do curves, this is excellent for doing curves. Right now, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to do a straight line. And since I have a style here that makes sense, then it's actually going to look pretty good for my alignment. But if I'm going to do curved pipes, I can use alignment for that as well. I can also utilize the offset alignment. So offset alignment, well, Eric should really show you this because he's the road engineer. For me, I know how to do them, but right now I'm going to use them for showing my pipe. So if I use an offset alignment and say, I know this pipe should be 0.6, I want to have 0.3 on one side, 0.3 on the other side, they're going to be Storm, going to click OK, and then all of a sudden I can see the width of my pipe. And since this is a very smart alignment, it's going to keep track of this. So everything I do, every edit that I do, even if I lengthen this one, the offset alignment is going to keep track of it. And even if I realize that I need to continue this design, I'm going to start the command again. I'm going to use my object snap, which is important. And I'm going to continue my layout. The offset alignment keeps track of it. So it's an easy way of sort of making sure that you get these the width of your pipes as well. I can also use object offset alignment. I'm going to select the second one. Offset alignment to create my water, for instance. So if I say I don't want anything on my right, I want one on my left, I want this to be a meter in between, and I want this to be a water line. And then all of a sudden I get a water line that is also connected to my main alignment. And there's no real worry in not knowing which one is your main, because the main one is the only thing you can drag in. That's the only thing that you get grips on. The others, you don't get grips. So you always know which one is the one that I'm going to drag, because that's the one that I can change. So it's a way of visualizing this in 2D, but I can also do it in 3D. So if I take my alignment, I do a surface profile. I'm going to add my surface, draw in profile view. Now, I've been through this, so I know that if I'm just going to do create, I'm going to get all my settings that I want. And this is the beauty of having a template that is well set up. You know how this one should look. So I get a surface profile. This is dynamically linked, as we usually do. But I can then also do a profile creation. And this one is Storm. Again, I worked with my template, so I know what I'm going to do, except everything opens on the other screen. The downside of using a temporary room in my office. And then I can draw my line like that. And I get my planner. So, and if I want to show the elevation, right now I don't see elevation for that one, so I need to go into my profile view properties. And inside my profile view properties, I will change my profile and say I want to have my profile 1. And just hit OK. And now I see my elevations down here for this line that I have. So you can work with the plan and profile pretty far into the process. And then if you want to do a pipe network from this, if you want to continue and doing the normal, the ordinary way, then we can create a feature line from this. So the function to create feature lines from alignment actually uses the profile. So it takes the plan from the alignment, and then we can say, yeah, use this profile for the elevations for it. So it's fairly easy to go to the feature line, and then you can continue and doing the solids for it. Or you could use what Eric has shown you to create solids from this. If you do from a feature line, that works as well. Yeah, so this one is the one that I wanted to add sort of with how to do design if you don't really need to have it as pipe networks. So the final part that I want to show you is about trench design. So I know that Eric has a idea on how to do it with line set as well. Are you prepared to show it?
I am.
Good. Then I will hand it over to you.
So perfect. All right. So let's get some excavation going here. I would like to know how much I need to dig out to get this pipe in the ground. So I'll start with doing the same thing I've done my other blocks here. So let's create the pipe, and we do extrude by script once again to get the pipe ready like this. And now I want to add a line set that represent the trench. And I've made one of these templates. So if I go to create, select my 2D line here, press enter for the whole length, and then I change it to my section and trench. And this is for one pipe, so it's cater or like made into working for this one pipe. So if you have, like for example, the 6 pipes in 2 layers, you have to modify this a little bit. But if I click OK here, you see I get a surface. So this line set template, what it does, it creates, similar to when I create the pipe, a draped line that is connected to the surface, and then an offset one down under, and then it creates 2 datum lines, one to the left and one to the right for the bottom, and then with a slope 1 to 1 up to the surface again. So if I look at this from the side here, you can see in the object viewer that it is just a simple trench for this pipe. And the good thing about this is that the line set is still dynamic. So you can move and edit and change things here and get a good idea of how much area do we need. So you can see the line set constantly works to try to update and tell you if you move it here, it will look like this. So you can do small changes here and get it to fit in wherever you want. And this is surprisingly fast, even though it's continuously updating. So if I drop it here, it will update the surface. And the only thing I need to do is to update the solid. So this was a very quick one, just to show you guys what you can do with line set. It has infinite possibilities, I feel like. And this is just one of the things added to the 3D pipes that you can do. So that was my last part.
Great. And since it's a surface that you're creating, you can do a normal volume calculation, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yep. So that works really nice as well. And this is, of course, one of the things that we tend to do is if Civil does something well, then we don't try to duplicate it. We try to add to it they want to do. So I wanted to finish off by showing you another way of doing trench, sort of easy trench calculations, and that is with the assembly called trench LT. So we have our assemblies, our Naviate pipe assemblies, or rather all our Naviate assemblies. And inside here, this is right now the Swedish library. But we have one of these, we have it translated to all the different languages. So I'm just going to import our LT. The LT is a special assembly in that it is a pipe trench, but it is not actually, it doesn't require that much. If you're used to our sort of standard trenches that we use, they require pipe networks, but they don't, this one doesn't require anything. It requires a feature line. So I'm going to do a feature line, create a feature line. I do need to do a corridor based on a feature line. I do need to have a name for it. So I'm going to call this one path. And then I'm going to draw my feature line. So I'm going to use my surface as elevation. And then I'm just going to draw this one. So I'm not going to worry too much about where I place this one, like that. And then I'm going to use this one to create a corridor. So unlike alignment and profile, to do a corridor from a feature line, you only need to have the feature line. So I just select my feature line. I need to have my assembly. I'm going to have a target surface because I need to have the trench sides go up something. And then I'm just going to hit OK. And then I get my corridor. So right now I have a setting, I have a style for this one. I'm just going to open my properties so you can see it, called trench, which actually displays only the daylights, and then it displays the pipes in between. So this is actually a 3D object. So if I go to Object Viewer, was the one that I was looking for, we can see that this is actually a 3D object that we get. The placement of the pipes depending on the assembly. So it's quite static in that if I want to change something, so I'm going to bring up two viewports and I'm going to move over to my assembly over here. So if I want to change something, I can change it inside the assembly. So if I, for instance, want to say that, well, I don't want to have any insulation, I do want to have a larger center pipe. Right now it's 0.2. I want the center pipe to be 0.6. We can see that my assembly updates, but the corridor does not. This one is actually very fast, so I can actually have this one to be rebuild automatic. And then it rebuilds automatically. So now if I change anything here, if I say that my left pipe, for instance, should be a 0.8, we can see that the corridor updates automatically. And now the reason that it fails is because it's too high up. So if I want this to start at a lower position, we have center pipe mean cover. This means it's going to start 3 meters below the surface, and then the design will continue from there. And if I move anything with my feature line, then we can see the corridor updates automatically. The only thing this is not good at, it's not good at corners. Okay, there's two things. Corners, it does something with the corners, but it's not particularly good. And another thing it's not particularly good at is if I drag it at the end. The corridor tends to stay where I placed it. So if I lengthen my feature line, I usually need to go into my properties on my corridor and say that, yeah, I need this to be at the end. So that's sort of, if you change anything in the middle, that's fine. If I change anything in the beginning, it's usually fine. At the end, nope, don't recognize that one. So, but it's a very easy way of seeing, if you want to see sort of a planning where you also need to make sure that you keep track of your excavation, of your trenches, then this is a very easy way of doing it. And you can have a standard placement of your pipes in here. So I can see that, yeah, if I place my pipes in the standard layout, this is going to be my trench that I want to see here. And if I want to have the quick volume calculations, we could do a surface from this and do a volume from that one. But what I also can do is I can use my Naviate functionality called corridor, solids from corridor. So I can export this and just say that I want this to be just a cut. We have a shape for the entire cut. I'm going to do the whole range. And then I'm just going to export the entire solid. And if I take a look at properties on that solid, I get a volume for my entire. So it's a very quick way of getting the entire excavation for this one. So those were the different sort of methods that we wanted to show you. A bit of difference, some very much Naviate, some sort of landscape heavy, or rather they come from landscape. We can use them for other things, and some very much pipe. I wanted to show you a, a, a final slide. So I'm just going to see if I get that one. Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit about the benefits and downsides of the different things. Um, for benefits, both the line set and the alignment are very lightweight. They're very quick. They are that's the main thing, that's this benefit of them. The line set, as we said, minimal input. As Eric showed you, you can just sort of select your template. That, if we go over to the downsides, the line set requires templates. So it requires that you have your templates already set up. It requires that you have some script knowledge, and you sort of need to go through the process of doing this. But once you have that set up, then the line set, it's extremely quick to create it. And it's very, very lightweight. It's only 3D polylines that we're working with. We can create solids, we can create surfaces from it. So very quickly you get something that you can look at, and you get it in 3D. If we talk about alignment, it is again very quick, takes a template though, but it doesn't really show that much. You get a 2D version, you get something that looks good in plan, but you don't get that much in 3D. So if you're looking for something that is 3D, line set and extrude is a better way of doing it. Pipe networks, of course, is the automatic way. You get everything. You get a pipe network, you get structures. The structures look as they do, but you still get them. And you get automatic data. Eric showed you where you can add line set, you can add data on top of it. You need to do that to make sure that you know what it is. For pipe networks, you get automatic data. But again, downside, it requires a template, and a pipe network is something that's going to be very heavy. So I showed you that you need to do a data shortcut. I would say you're required to do a data shortcut for the pipe networks. So all of these different functionalities that we've shown you are options for you. And it might be that you have projects that you can use one or two of them, and for some you only have to do one. So it really varies about what you want to do that you can do. So it's all about what you like and what you're after. But this was all about giving you different options and showing you different ways that we can do it, both inside Naviate and for Civil 3D. So I hope that you've seen something that sort of feels like, that sounds interesting. If it's something you want to talk to us about, you can always ask questions, and you can contact us. We're fairly easy to find, and you have our contact information on the website, or you can find us on LinkedIn and all the good stuff. We want to have it like that. But I think we're good for today. So thank you for listening, and thank you for staying while I expand on other questions. But these are the interesting ones. I mean, I feel my brain sort of working like, yeah, okay, how do I want to do this? Because we want it to be updatable as well. Yeah, not going to go into that day. Thank you for today. Thank you for watching. This will be up on YouTube, and hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.